You're listening to The Briefing, first broadcast on the 23rd of October 2025 on Monocle Radio.
Hello and welcome to The Briefing, coming to you from Paris today with me, Tyler Brûlé. We're in Studio 5 here on Rue Bachemont. I'm very happy to say Sophie Monahan-Coombs is here, our culture editor. Also Aurelia Rauch, you've been around the fair, the Grand Palais. Hopefully it's dry today because we've got a little bit of you could almost say a hurricane blowing through Paris at the moment. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you so much. But yes, indeed, a little bit winded up today.
Indeed. Just very quickly, just your mood, quick take. We'll be talking about this more in a moment, but the feeling in Paris right now.
Fantastic. Full of life, full of art. Really, really wonderful.
Excellent. We're also going to be talking to the journalist Florence Biederman is going to be here today. And also Joseph Duvec, also another journalist, also think tanker, you could say in many ways. And also Simon Bouvier, bureau chief, is here. Simon, what's catching our eye? Of course, there's still the hangover of course, this heist at the Louvre, but of course, many other things happening politically as well in the country.
Bonjour, Tyler. Yes, the best introduction to Art Week that you could imagine, I suppose. And then now things are going to come to a head with these infamous budget talks. How's the Prime Minister going to get that through Parliament?
Indeed. Also, our editor-in-chief, Andrew Tuck, has also just blown in from London. He's going to be chatting to us as well. All right here in The Briefing with me, Tyler Brûlé. And good afternoon from a very cozy Studio 5. We have, Simon, it's not a hurricane, but it feels like a hurricane because I was in the hotel next door, which is adjoining our Bachemont setup here. And the awnings are blowing. The ivy is sort of lashing against windows. I think it's heading towards Switzerland now, though.
It is. It's a storm. It even has a name, Benjamin. So everybody's Benjamin, exactly. Everybody's batting down the hatches here. And Paris will be spared the worst, but it's still, as Aurelia was saying earlier, quite windy and hopefully not too rainy, but it's been splashing a little bit around.
Okay, thanks for that weather update, Simon.
Anytime.
Aurelia and Sophie Monahan-Coombs. Sophie, good to have you here. Listen, why don't we just rewind a little bit? Earlier, we were talking, of course, on Monocle on Sunday. You had just come from London last week. You were both in London doing Frieze Week. Let's start with a bit of contrast and compare. Maybe, Sophie, I'll start with you. Of course, based in London, now over in Paris. Mood and feeling, please.
Yes, well, I think I went into Frieze thinking it might be a little bit subdued because of all of the talk around the art market, but it was super busy. I think London put on a great show. The galleries I spoke to seemed really, really happy and it felt very positive. Coming here, it's hard to beat the Grand Palais as a venue for Art Basel Paris. And, Simon Fox, the head of Frieze, said that he wanted to pitch Frieze London, Art Basel Paris as like Barbenheimer. So like those films, they kind of helped each other. You could go to both, make it a double bill. So I think he's really hoping that people are doing both. But I imagine lots of collectors might have skipped London, come straight to Paris. But I think the mood in both places has been, really positive in general.
Oh, really? Is he hoping or is he praying that this is the case? Because, listen, you gave it to us straight before we went on air, sitting in the green room. Give it to our listeners.
I said that. I really think that in terms of experience, beauty of venue, you mentioned this, Sophie, it's unbeatable. Sales reported and people on the ground, Paris wins, man. we can't sugarcoat that. I think the crowd here was fantastic. The work on view was fantastic. Tons of blue chip, of course. So I feel like really what stood out to me, like first impression between those two fairs, is that at Frieze, I missed a little bit those like really big tickets that sold and, big reports of great numbers. And here we've got several, really. So this fair did well. And Sophie, you mentioned, if I may add that on, that we have some difficult reportings about how the art market is doing as a whole. Of course, embed that in the geopolitical and global situations, absolutely understandable. But it paints a bit of a different picture what we're hearing, right? Like everybody seems to be very happy and pleased with how sales are going on a gallery level and on a fair level.
Just maybe going back to London and maybe energy as well. So do you think there is room to really build this bridge? Because as you said, yes, and this is not new. There's just more energy. I mean, we had FIAC before. There was always this adjacency, but of course, you have the power of the Basel brand now delivered to Paris, and maybe you could argue as well, yeah, maybe some organizational expertise. I mean, of course, a revamped Grand Palais also helps with all of this. If you were back in London, does Friese need to move away from a tent in a park, for example? Does it need to also look for a slight reset?
I think it's a good point. I mean, Friese has been around now for over 20 years. And when it came onto the scene, it was really edgy. It had all of that energy. And now I just didn't find anything that felt that new. Paris has the advantage of all these amazing artistic institutions. It's got the new Cartier Foundation. There's places like that. And it just feels like there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more here. There's loads to see. I also think, Kerry James Marshall at the Royal Academy, London did have those big shows that were amazing. But I do think, the tent in Regent's Park, it's not anywhere near like the Grand Palais, and that changes your experience of it. It changes how you see the work, and I think that does affect, the sales that are made.
Simone, just to bring you in on this, I'm wondering how concerted, though, would you say is direction from, let's say, the Élysée, not very far, of course, from the Grand Palais, that you also have France culture incorporated behind this as well, that they really want this to work. So as much of this is, yes, it's free enterprise, etc. The hands of the Ministry of Culture to ensure that, and we'll be talking about this later, in a country which is really in turmoil right now, that at least these signature sort of lighthouse moments work and all attention is on this city, this country for the right reasons.
I think 100% there's a real effort d'etat, a kind of state policy to try and make France's cultural firepower essentially take it on an international dimension beyond tourists who visit these world-class cultural institutions, including the new Fondation Cartier that Sophie mentioned. But they are really helping the organizers of these cultural events by putting these incredible buildings, these incredible places. And, Art Basel Paris is not the only one, and the Grand Palais is not the only one of these kind of storied palaces that can be put at the disposal of organizers for these events. We've also had a Design Miami, Paris, and Karl Lagerfeld's old home. I mean, all of these venues just give it a vibe that attracts international collectors, and the French state is behind it 100%.
Our editor-in-chief, Andrew Tuck, is going to be joining us a bit later. He was on Eurostar this morning on his way over and just said, of course, still lots of people en route to Paris. Clearly the art crowd, maybe not the core art crowd, but certainly the follow-up acts as well. So to both of you, but I'll start with you, Aurelia, just if people are coming now, if you have to sort of say 3 picks that people need to see, what are Aurelia Rauch's picks for Paris?
Can I do fair and galleries? So then
Please.
I would definitely say Ricreativa Vanija at Chantal Crozet. Fantastic show. I mean, you walk in, there's a white carpet, which is, that's a bold choice. Bold choice.
On a day like today.
On a rainy day. Yeah, but the work's absolutely stunning. He made these beautiful works covered in silver with newspaper behind it, kind of dramatic newspaper reporting with a beautiful silver kind of covering that will wear and tear over the years that you possibly live with the artwork. Super stunning, very poetic. Loved the Jeffrey Gibson at Hauser and Wirth show. Really go see that. It is absolutely stunning. And of course, everything that has to do with Gerhard Richter, that's the moment in Paris. Louis Vuitton Foundation has a big retrospective, and then David Swinner is showing the gallery equivalent. So those are my 3 picks there. As for the fair, I would say Gagosian, historic Rubens work. Of course, you need to see that. I really adored the Barbara Krüger work. That was right when you walk in. You can't miss it. It's a huge panel with ice staring at you. And my 3rd pick at the fair would probably be the Ugo Rondinone installation at Presenhuber. Really incredible stacks of painted rocks. Very impressive, always is.
Sophie, just quickly, 30 seconds or less.
Well, not that Gagosian needs any more PR, but I think the Rubens, it really stands out. It gives that amazing contrast. I personally loved what's at the fair at Matthew Marks. There's a huge Laura Owens. It's right as you come in, and it's a really kind of stripped back, very pale, stark booth. And I think that work is just really amazing. Also, Martha Jungwirth, who is in the edition of Monocle that hits newsstands today. She's got lots of works at Thaddeus Ropack, and I would really recommend those. Outside the fair, I'll give a quick shout out to Bridget Riley at the Musée d'Orsay, which is wonderful.
Excellent. Sophie Monahan-Coombs, also Aurelia Rauca, Chief Experience Officer at Bergos Bank. Great having you with us. It is just gone 13:09 here in Paris. You are listening to The Briefing with me, Tyler Brûlé. Also, my colleague Simon Bouvier is here. We're going to head to London for the news in a moment. So just if we're sort of surveying the papers, we're going to be talking a little bit geopolitically in a moment as well. This contrast, art is happening and it's all moving in the city at the moment, but then mere meters away, it is absolute pandemonium still politically.
Absolutely, and I think the main thing here is that there seems to be a rift between President Macron and his protégé, who is the Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu, essentially in order to guarantee some form of stability for his government. As you may recall from this endless TV show of French politics, he was named for about a month and then he had to resign and then he was named again. He is the longest standing minister of Emmanuel Macron's and a longtime faithful, his warrior monk, as he calls himself. And now there seems to be a rift between the two because in order to guarantee the stability of his government, he had to give political guarantees to the left side of the political chessboard. And so in order to do that, he had to offer a significant sacrifice, which is to suspend President Macron's signature retirement reform bill. And the president has publicly said that he doesn't see that as a suspension. He just thinks it's moving deadlines. So the two are at odds right now. So it's anybody's guess how that's going to shake out.
So just mood, aside from the storm Benjamin blowing through the country at the moment. Listen, if I'm running my auto repair shop in Nantes, if I am closing down my beach club for the season outside of Saint-Tropez, how am I feeling, particularly if I'm not part of the CAC 40, if I am just a small-time entrepreneur who needs to make my way in this country right now?
I think you're feeling fed up. There's this series of polls called Fractures Françaises or French Fractures that Le Monde has been commissioning in partnership with one of France's top pollsters that focuses on how fractured French society is becoming. And ever since the latest episodes of this political situation, we've seen all of this tension be exacerbated, really, and have people increasingly fed up, this anti-establishment sentiment, this feeling that their elected representatives are out there representing their own political interests as opposed to trying to push for what's in the best interests of the country is gaining ground. And that's quite dangerous. And the instability, Tyler, when you're a business person, you're trying to decide whether to hire somebody. You're trying to decide whether, where to get your parts, your components. You're trying to choose your suppliers. All of this instability makes this decision-making impossible. And the business elite, which used to be very pro-Macron, and the smaller businesses are both fed up with this.
Indeed. It's just gone 13:13 here in Paris, 12:13 back in London. Tom Edwards is there with the news headlines.
Thank you very much indeed, Tyler. The United States has placed fresh sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil. The move marks the latest policy shift on Moscow from President Donald Trump and saw global oil prices jump by 3%. King Charles and Queen Camilla are on a state visit to the Vatican. Earlier, Charles prayed alongside Pope Leo, the first such moment between a British monarch and a pope in 500 years. The two will also make time to discuss the climate crisis and sustainability issues. As we were just hearing, the Fondation Cartier Art Museum is set to open the doors to its new home this weekend, situated just across from the Louvre. The projects mark a massive redesign of the museum's interiors, led by the Pritzker Prize winner Jean Nouvel. Let's hope they've got their security cameras sorted. And finally, Chinese tech giant Baidu will begin test driving its robo-taxi unit in Switzerland. By the end of the year, the firm announced its aim to launch the public service, apparently by the first quarter of 2027, heating up the race to dominate European roads. Those are the day's headlines. Tyler, your driverless car will soon be ready back home in Switzerland. Happy to hop on board? Back to you in Paris.
Tom, listen, I was kind of amazed to read this story in the NZZ this morning about the Swiss Post is going to be teaming up, and also with a Chinese company as well. This was partly surprising, but what was really interesting, there's a very, very good piece which an NZZ journalist was in Wuhan, and it's the story of them taking this driverless taxi from their hotel in the center of Wuhan out to the airport, and it talks about this 90-minute journey. Now, if you jumped on the highway in Wuhan, it'll take you 30 minutes. But Tom, these driverless vehicles are not allowed on main highways, and so it sort of talks about this hairy experience, 90 minutes getting to the airport, and this sort of real sense, almost in real time, that you see how this vehicle is sort of hesitating. Should it overtake? It's also overtaking on the inside as well. I'm not ready yet, Tom. I don't. When my G set arrives, I hopefully there's a driver behind it. Your take?
Tyler, listen. My computer won't even stop it when my caps is locked on and I'm writing in a document all in capital letters. I'm not going to trust this technology to drive me on the highway, super or otherwise. I want a real driver, and I want to have a chat with him or her whilst we're driving around.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Tom, I will when I get out to. I think the trial's going to be in the east of Switzerland. Maybe I'll let you know. Maybe there's a certain comfort that maybe that Swiss Post is involved. Maybe that makes me feel better.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've got to try. If anyone was going to do it, I'm happy that it's our Swiss brothers and sisters. But yeah, listen, the Edwards jury remains out for now.
Thanks, Tom Edwards, back in London. You're listening to The Briefing. We're in Studio 5 here in Paris. I'm here with Simone Bouvier as well. Simone, you were given the task, of course, of saying, who should be on the program today? You came across a fine piece of writing by Mr. Joseph Devec, who's with us today as well. Also, Florence Biedermann, a regular voice around Monocle Radio, also joining us today. But what caught your eye, maybe just on Joseph's story? We thought, okay, we need to give this a little bit of airtime.
Yeah, I thought it was the perfect panel to gather Florence and Joseph here today to discuss, with Florence, the micro, what is going on right now with the suspension of this retirement reform and what's the impact on the nitty-gritty of politics. And with Joseph, the bigger picture, bouncing off of a column that he wrote in Le Monde a couple of weeks ago about how do you create a culture of compromise in this country that does not currently exist? Are there some institutional remedies that we could try to implement? And what part of institutional versus behavioral changes do we need in this country to get to where we need to be and overcome this paralysis? So maybe, Florence, we could start with you and kick off the discussion with the latest developments, the nitty-gritty of Sébastien Lecornu deciding that he's going to suspend President Macron's signature retirement reform. How do you see this move playing out? What's its significance?
Well, the significance is obviously that Macron and Sébastien Lecornu, because they are working closely together, are trying to get out of, to save at least Macron's second mandate, I would say, not the political situation, which is blocked, as you rightly said. So to try to not to have a third minister expelled in a few months, Sébastien Lecornu agreed with Macron's approval, of course, even if he's not very happy about it, to suspend this pension reform. This pension reform, it was adopted more than 2 years ago, and there was huge protest in the street. This was one really it was supposed to be the big reform of Macron's second mandate. He was elected as a reformer, so he has to deliver. And for him, it was symbolically very important that this reform happened. So the fact that it be suspended, of course, is a blow for him. By the way, it should be noted also that he doesn't present himself this as a suspension, but as a postponement. So there is kind of play on the words now. Lecornu, the Prime Minister, pretending it's suspended to please the moderate left so that he gets their vote and so that his budget can be adopted and his government not be censored. And Macron talking openly to his troops to say, don't worry, it's not that bad because it's just a postponement. So whether the socialists will accept this reasonment or not, we will see. They are also asking for some more reforms or in the budget going in their sense. So it's not at all sure right now that even with this suspension, the budget will be adopted. So there is still a big uncertainty in French politics.
And Joseph, you wrote a book about President Macron as well that came out a few years ago. What do you make of this situation, and how does it tie into your perspective about what the institutional fixes to this might be?
So what is interesting is that France has a problem with a situation that is that there is a parliament without a clear majority. There's not a single party that has an absolute majority of seats. Now, this is the normality in practically every other European country. And every other European country just deals with the situation in building coalition governments and coalitions of multiple parties. But the French are not used to that. The French are used to power being in the hands of one person, the president, and his parties. They're also used to having sort of a government and opposition, clear binary opposites. And they're also not used to compromise as a culture. This is a country where the most famous theater play is a 19th century play called Cyrano de Bergerac. And Cyrano de Bergerac is a famous poet and swordsman. And he's famous above all because he renounces every compromise. He says compromise is this old enemy. And there is a thing about French culture which rejects compromise. After all, this is the country of protest, of strikes, of the French Revolution. You don't do a revolution if you're a country of compromise like Switzerland, where you're also always trying to seek the common ground. So there are great things in that, right, in that revolutionary setting. But what is difficult now is that you're in a situation where the French are so divided politically, like every other European country, right? There are about 4 or 5 blocks within society that no one has the power for himself. So in a sense, the French public is forcing its politicians to think about compromise, but they don't know how to think about it. There's like children that have to learn a new language. They've always had practice the language of power. Now they have to practice the language of negotiation. And that requires a couple of institutional fixes. And if we look at history, it also requires a lot of time.
Floss, I wanted to ask you, this is this journalism game and observing what, of course, is happening within these borders. You've been doing this for a while. We always like to talk about the notion of unprecedented. But if you look back, have you ever seen anything where there's this real national sense of disillusionment, up and down and across the country? Is there anything you can reflect on? And I'm maybe getting to this point, and maybe not a compromise, but a way out of this, where we've been in this situation before in France, but we managed to find and climb our way out of it?
Well, not since the Fifth Republic was established by General de Gaulle after the Second World War. It was a usual, let's say, situation before that under another political system that was the Fourth Republic, and it was called the Republic of the Parties. And everybody has a bad memory of it, like because of the instability it was creating, because already there was no compromise in French politics. So yes, it's unprecedented since after the Second World War. And I totally agree with the point of view that we are not going to get out of this situation that easily and that quickly, because what happened, if you want to summarize, with Macron is that he managed to suck up like the moderate left and the moderate right in this kind of centrist pole. I don't say party because he never wanted to make a party. There is a movement called Renaissance, called whatever it was. So he refused this two-party system. Yes, he refused this two-party system. He blew it up, but what's left is like an important center, and then lots of new strands for the extreme left and the extreme right, and especially, of course, the far right and Marine Le Pen's party. Now, the big question for every French, if you look a bit ahead, not that much ahead about years and years of how the situation will evolve, but a bit ahead is, will the far right come to power or not? This is what everybody's wondering through the presidential election, through the general election.
Yeah, I think it really, that's the key question, right? When will all of these different electoral deadlines come to a head? The president can call elections at any time if things seem to be more unstable. There are all these new calls for him to resign. So we'll have to keep track of that situation with both of you as we move forward and see if these institutional fixes that become necessary in order to emerge from this crisis.
And just before we go, we should say, just if you could do it in 30 seconds or less, I mean, you're also a political consultant as well. If someone came to your firm and you said, okay, this is the path you'd have to take, you had to sort of knock heads around a table, what would you give them? And you don't have to do it for free. I mean, people can send an invoice, or you can send an invoice afterwards.
To fix the French political situation? Yeah. I think what you need is proportional representation in parliamentary elections. If you have this, then you basically have the basis for coalition governments. The problem now is that in the current electoral system, everyone in France still thinks they can get the power on their own, even though they can't. And you have to destroy that illusion. You have to shatter that illusion, and then you can enter into a game of coalition politics like we see it in the rest of Europe.
Joseph Devec, France Beatman, thank you very much for joining us. You're listening to The Briefing. It's just gone 13:25 here in Paris. We're going away for a short break. We'll be back after this. And you are back with The Briefing with me, Tyler Brûlé. Also, Simone Bouvier is here. Also, our editor-in-chief, Andrew Tuck, as I said a little bit earlier, just pulled into Gare du Nord over the last hour or so, is also here, of course, for a little event that we're having this evening. So it's an evening of double events. It's Paris. It is also New York as well. I should say that our design editor, Nick Moniz, is also joining us on the line from New York as well. I'll start with you, Nick. Good morning. What's the view? What's the scene? Hopefully you arrived fresh and perky in New York from Paris.
Very, very fresh and very, very perky, as always.
Sounds like you're in the bathroom right now. Anyway,
well, it's the city is just coming awake, which is amazing. Being Australian, being in a place like New York, which is also a morning city, is so refreshing. So I nipped out for a quick coffee and then back to the hotel room to check in with you both, or three of you.
And Andrew, maybe just said, we'll come back to as to why you're in New York, Nick. But Andrew, we have a bit of an event this evening. There's a book launch. It's the second book in a week in this city, and you're over here because.
Well, we have a partnership with the Department of Culture and Tourism out of Abu Dhabi. And they're investing so heavily in the world of culture, but grand projet, but also smaller interventions of culture in the city or in the Emirate. And we've made this book, Destination Abu Dhabi, which we'll be launching here tonight. But it also coincides with us having our new book of designers and sofas out, and a new design directory. So there's lots of reasons to celebrate. But yeah, I've just seen the guest list. I think there's 150 people coming here tonight for a bit of a shindig at the end of the day. And as you say, there's so many people in town, as you've been discussing, for Art Basel Paris. So it's a great crowd that happens to be around as well. So lots of our key readers and supporters are here in town as well.
And also, it was a significant crowd also for the Rosewood book the other evening. I think that was even outgunned. I think we must have been 250 spilling out onto the street, led partly by you, Simon, but also by Nick and his funky new denim.
Absolutely. It is the week of 1,000 cocktail parties, and we're making our contribution to that here at 16 Rue Bachaumont. And the crowd at the Rosewood event was amazing. It was great to meet all of these, chefs and these concierges and all of these people who participate in making the experience at these hotels such a exceptional experience.
Nick, in 30 seconds or less, tell us what's happening in New York this evening.
Well, Andrew kind of alluded to it in his husky voice. It sounds like he's been preparing for a big night by having a big night before. Andrew, is that fair?
Leave him alone. Anyway, go on.
That's early morning and coffee. Leave me alone, yeah.
Partnership with Thuma, an amazing furniture brand in the US, helping us launch our Designers on Sofas book, because they've just launched their own sofa. So there's this beautiful partnership. I mean, I think you said you've got 130 tonight. We've got 134. So I feel like New York's also going to be a pretty amazing evening.
And it's been a while since we've done something there as well. Andrew, just very quickly, we're also December, January issue heading to the presses quite soon. Also Confect as well.
Cornflakes, yeah. I left Sophie Grove in the office last night as I nipped home to iron a shirt for tonight, and she was the last person there. She's getting that issue out the door. But yeah, the December-January issue is also going to be going to press next week, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest issues we've done for a long time. So I'm excited about that.
Very good. Andrew Tuck, Simon Bouvier, great seeing you. Nick Manise over in New York, enjoyed this evening. Our show today was produced by Anita Riotta. Also, Joanna Moser was our studio manager, and also as was Lily Austin. The briefing is back at Midori House tomorrow. Enjoy it then. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.